The starship Asteria drifted silently through the endless darkness, its emergency lights casting an eerie red glow across the command deck. Captain Elena Reyes stared at the communication panel, watching the distress signal pulse outward into the void. 3 weeks since their engines had failed. 3 weeks since they'd lost contact with Earth Command. The crew of 42 was running out of supplies, hope dwindling with each passing day. Elena remembered the mission briefing that had seemed so promising 6 months ago. A routine survey of the newly discovered Kepler system. But something had gone terribly wrong when they passed through an uncharted anomaly, damaging their engines and navigation systems. Now they were lost in a region of space no human had ever documented, sending desperate pleas for help into the darkness, praying someone or something would answer. "Captain, we've lost power to Deck C," reported Tasha, the ship's chief engineer. Her voice was tired, strained from weeks of fighting to keep the Asteria functioning on minimal power. "Reroute emergency reserves," Elena ordered, rubbing her temples. The headaches were getting worse. Sleep had become a luxury none of them could afford. "How much oxygen do we have left?" 8 days at current consumption rates," replied Dr. Marcus, the medical officer, his usually cheerful face now gaunt with worry. "We've sealed off the unused sections of the ship to conserve air, but—" His voice trailed off. They all knew what happened after those 8 days. Elena nodded, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. "The distress signal has a range of 16 light-years. There are 3 known outposts within that distance. Someone will hear us." No one mentioned that if those outposts were going to respond, they likely would have done so already. The ship groaned, metal contracting in the cold of space. To Elena, it sounded like the Asteria itself was in pain. Maybe it was. Ships this size weren't meant to drift powerless through the void. They needed movement, purpose, just like their crews. "I'm going to make rounds," Elena announced, pushing herself up from the captain's chair. "Keep sending the signal. Every 30 seconds, just like we planned." The corridors of the Asteria were dimly lit to conserve power, most systems running on emergency backup only. Crew members nodded respectfully as she passed, but Elena saw the fear in their eyes. They were looking to her for answers she didn't have. In the mess hall, a small group had gathered around communications officer Raj Patel. His voice was low, but Elena could hear him as she approached. "I think there's something out there," he was saying. "Last night, during my shift, I heard something responding to our signal. It wasn't human." The group fell silent as they noticed Elena. She frowned. "Officer Patel, what exactly did you hear?" Raj straightened, looking uncomfortable. "It was probably nothing, Captain. Just space noise." "That's not what you were just telling them," Elena pressed. "If you picked up something on the comms, I need to know." Raj hesitated, then sighed. "It wasn't on the official channel, Captain. It's hard to explain." A pattern of clicks and tones. Almost like a conversation happening just beyond what I could understand. In normal times, Elena might have dismissed this as stress-induced imagination. But these weren't normal times, and Raj was one of her most level-headed officers. "Did you record it?" "No, Captain. It stopped as soon as I tried." "Interesting." Elena made a mental note to spend some time in the communications room herself tonight. "Keep this to yourself for now," she told Raj quietly. "The last thing we need is false hopes spreading through the ship." As she turned to leave, the ship's lights flickered, then stabilized. A bad sign. The power systems were deteriorating faster than Tasha had predicted. That night, while most of the crew slept in their cold cabins, Elena sat in the dark communications room, headset on, listening to the endless loop of their distress call. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of Earth Vessel Asteria. We are stranded at coordinates unknown with failing life support systems. Any vessels receiving this message, please respond." 3 minutes of silence. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of Earth Vessel." A soft crackle interrupted the loop. Then came the sounds Raj had described, clicks and tones, but with a distinct pattern. Not random space noise. Something intelligent. Elena's heart raced as she adjusted the controls, trying to isolate the signal. "This is Asteria. We hear you. Please identify yourself." The clicking stopped immediately. For 3 hours, Elena sat motionless, listening, occasionally sending out her own Messages. Nothing returned. As the ship's artificial dawn cycle began, she reluctantly removed the headset and made her way back to her quarters. Sleep wouldn't come. Who or what was out there? And why weren't they answering properly? Captain Reyes. Elena jolted awake to the sound of frantic knocking. She'd finally fallen asleep, but now Ensign Chun was at her door, eyes wide with excitement. You need to come to the observation deck now. Stumbling from her bunk, Elena followed the young ensign through the corridors. Crew members were streaming in the same direction, urgent whispers filling the air. The observation deck was crowded when they arrived. Through the massive viewport, Elena saw what had caused the commotion. A ship, but unlike any ship she'd ever seen. It was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the Asteria, with strange, organic-looking protrusions that seemed to pulse with inner light. It had no visible engines or propulsion systems, yet it matched their drift perfectly, hovering just 500 meters from their port. Sighed. How long has it been there? Elena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Sensors detected it about 20 minutes ago, replied Officer Sarah Kim, the navigator. But here's the strange part, it just appeared. No approach trajectory, no warp signature. 1 minute nothing was there, the next this. Elena stared at the alien vessel, a mixture of hope and fear coursing through her. Any attempts at communication? We've sent standard greeting protocols on all frequencies. No response. Get me a direct line, Elena ordered. Someone handed her a comm unit. Taking a deep breath, Elena spoke clearly and calmly. This is Captain Elena Reyes of the Earth Exploration Vessel Asteria. We thank you for responding to our distress signal. Our ship is damaged and our supplies are critical. We request assistance. The observation deck fell silent as everyone waited. Seconds stretched into minutes with no response. Then, without warning, a bright beam of light shot from the alien ship, connecting with the Asteria's hull. The entire ship vibrated, and several people lost their balance. We're being scanned, reported Security Chief Alvarez, checking his tablet. Multiple frequencies penetrating all decks. Before Elena could respond, the beam vanished. In its place, a small portion of the alien ship's hull began to change, forming what looked like an opening. They're extending a docking tube, Tasha said in amazement. I think they want us to come aboard. Elena felt the weight of 41 lives on her shoulders. This could be their salvation, or a terrible mistake. Alvarez Kim Patel, you're with me, she decided. Dr. Marcus, prepare the medical bay in case we bring back anything contagious. Tasha, you have command until we return. As she headed toward the airlock, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. For better or worse, first contact had been made. The alien docking tube was transparent, allowing Elena and her team to see the stars as they crossed the void between ships. Their magnetic boots clicked softly against the surface. The only sound besides their breathing, inside their EVA suits. Stay alert, Elena reminded them. No sudden movements, no weapons unless absolutely necessary. As they approached the alien vessel's entrance, the tube's material became more opaque, shifting to a milky translucence that obscured what lay beyond. Captain Kim whispered, does it seem like this material is alive to you? Elena had been thinking the same thing. The tube felt less like a structure, and more like an organism, warm, slightly yielding under their steps, with subtle pulses that might have been a heartbeat. When they reached the end of the tube, there was no obvious door or airlock. The material simply parted before them, opening like a mouth to reveal a vast, dimly lit chamber beyond. Atmosphere readings? Elena asked. Alvarez checked his suit sensors. Oxygen-nitrogen mix. Breathable but higher oxygen. Content than Earth's standard. Temperature 26 degrees Celsius. Keep helmets on for now, Elena ordered as they stepped into the chamber. The interior of the alien ship defied human architectural logic. The walls curved organically, with no sharp angles or straight lines. Bioluminescent patches provided soft, blue-green light that shifted intensity as they moved. The floor seemed to adjust to their footsteps, providing perfect balance despite the ship's alien gravity. Hello, Elena called out, her voice echoing strangely. We come in peace and gratitude for your assistance. A low hum filled the chamber, and the walls rippled in response to her voice. Then from all around them, "We receive your distress." The voice wasn't really a voice at all, more like the sounds of the ship itself forming into words they could understand. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Elena's team drew closer together instinctively. "Thank you for responding," Elena replied carefully. "Our ship is failing. We need help to repair our engines or transport home." The hum changed pitch, vibrating through their suits. "Home far. Very far." Raj stepped forward. "Can you tell us where we are? What sector of space?" The walls pulsed, and suddenly the chamber was filled with stars, a three-dimensional map of space that surrounded them completely. A small red light indicated their position. Kim gasped. "That's impossible. According to this, we're over 2,000 light-years from Earth. Our ship can't have traveled that distance in 6 months." "The anomaly," Alvarez said quietly. "It must have been some kind of wormhole." Elena felt dizzy as she contemplated the distance. Earth didn't have the technology to reach them here. If these beings couldn't or wouldn't help, the Asteria and its crew would never make it home. "We understand," she said, addressing their invisible hosts. "Can you help us survive? Our life support systems are failing." The star map vanished, replaced by what appeared to be schematics of the Asteria. Certain sections glowed red, the damaged areas. "We can repair, but ask exchange." Elena tensed. "Exchange? What do you want in return?" The chamber darkened, then illuminated with images of Earth, cities, forests, oceans. Then, human faces, laughing, crying, sleeping. "Stories. We collect stories." Back on the Asteria, Elena called an emergency meeting of the senior crew. The alien beings, who referred to themselves only as the Collectors, had made their offer clear. They would repair the Asteria's engines and life support in exchange for human stories and experiences. "What exactly do they mean by stories?" Dr. Marcus asked, frowning. "For what I understand," Elena explained, "they're a species that experiences reality differently than we do. They don't have individual lives as we know them. They're a collective consciousness that spans their entire vessel." "Are they the ship?" Tasha asked. "Or is the ship them?" "Both, I think," Elena replied. "And they're fascinated by individual experiences, by the concept of having a single perspective, a personal history. They want us to share our memories, our emotions, our stories." "How?" Alvarez looked suspicious. "Are we talking about some kind of mind probe here?" Elena shook her head. "They showed me a device, a kind of neural interface. Completely voluntary, completely safe according to their assurances. It doesn't extract the memories, it just reads them as we recall them." The room fell silent as the crew considered this. "Do we have a choice?" asked Raj finally. "We have 5 days of oxygen left. Even if we don't trust these beings, what alternatives do we have?" It was the question Elena had been asking herself since returning from the alien vessel. The Collectors seemed peaceful, even benevolent. But they were utterly alien. Their concept of safe might not align with human understanding. "I've decided to test the process myself," Elena announced. "If it works as they claim, I'll ask for volunteers among the crew. No one will be ordered to participate." Dr. Marcus started to protest, but Elena raised her hand. "My decision is final, Doctor. The rest of you should prepare the crew. Explain the situation honestly, but emphasize that this may be our only chance to get home." As the meeting dispersed, Tasha lingered behind. "Captain," she said quietly, "what if they're not telling the truth about repairing our ship? What if this is just, I don't know, some kind of harvesting operation?" Elena had considered this possibility too. "That's why I'm going first, Tasha. And why I've asked Alvarez to prepare an emergency extraction plan if things go wrong." Tasha nodded, not entirely reassured. "Good luck, Captain." The neural interface was nothing like Elena had imagined. No wires, no electrodes, just a small, translucent orb that glowed with inner light. The chamber where the exchange would take place was smaller than the first, more intimate, with the same bioluminescent walls that seemed to breathe with the ship's rhythm. "You ready?" The voice that wasn't a voice hummed around her. Elena took a deep breath and nodded. "I'm ready. Hold and remember." She took the orb in her hands. It was warm, slightly pulsing, like holding a living heart. As Instructed, Elena closed her eyes and began to recall a memory, one she had chosen carefully for this first exchange. She remembered the day she was accepted to the Space Academy. The crisp white envelope in her hands. The weight of it. The way her fingers trembled as she opened it. The first word, congratulations, and the rush of joy that followed. The phone call to her parents. Her father's proud voice, her mother's happy tears. The celebration dinner that night. The taste of her favorite chocolate cake. The feeling that her life was finally beginning. As she remembered, the orb grew warmer, brighter through her closed eyelids. There was no pain, no sensation of intrusion, only a curious feeling of being listened to with complete attention. When the memory ended, Elena opened her eyes. The orb had changed color, now glowing with a soft golden light. Beautiful, hummed the voice. Individual joy, beautiful. Elena was surprised to find tears in her eyes. The experience had been intensely emotional, but not in a frightening way. It felt cathartic, like sharing a secret with a trusted friend. Would you share more? The voice asked. Elena nodded, finding herself strangely willing. Yes, I can share more. 3 days later, repairs on the Asteria were proceeding at an astonishing pace. Small, drone-like extensions of the collector ship had attached themselves to the damaged sections, working with tools and materials that Earth technology couldn't begin to replicate. Inside the ship, 38 crew members had volunteered for the story exchange after Elena's positive report. Only 4 had declined, which was their right. The mood aboard the Asteria had transformed. The fear and despair of the past weeks had given way to cautious hope and something else. Those who had participated in the exchange seemed changed somehow. Not in any alarming way, but they were more reflective, more open with each other. Elena found Raj in the observation lounge, watching the repair drones work. How are you feeling? She asked, joining him at the viewport. He smiled, looking more at peace than she'd seen him in months. Good. Really good. Actually, the exchange was not what I expected. In what way? Raj considered this. It made me realize how much of my life I've spent without really paying attention. All these moments, these feelings I've had, they're precious. The collectors helped me see that. Elena understood perfectly. Her own exchanges, she'd done 3 now, had left her with the same heightened awareness of her memories, her experiences. Did they ask you for any specific types of memories? She inquired. They seemed most interested in emotional extremes, Raj replied. Joy, grief, fear, love. The things that make us most human, I suppose. Elena nodded. The collectors had asked her for similar memories, her first heartbreak, the death of her grandmother, the terror of her first spacewalk when her tether had momentarily malfunctioned. Do you think they're learning from us? She wondered aloud. Maybe, Raj said. Or maybe they're collecting these stories the way humans collect art, because they find them beautiful. Before Elena could respond, Tasha's voice came over the ship's comm system. Captain to the bridge, please. The collectors are requesting to speak with you. When Elena entered the bridge, she found the main view screen activated. On it was not an alien face. The collectors didn't seem to have individual forms, but a shifting pattern of light and color that somehow conveyed sentience. We speak to express gratitude, the now familiar voice hummed through the ship's speakers. Gratitude. Elena was puzzled. We're the ones who should be thanking you. You're saving our lives. The pattern on the screen pulsated gently. Your stories, more valuable than you know. We have existed for millennia. We have traveled countless stars. But experience, limited. You mean because you're a collective? Elena asked. Yes. We know everything together. Nothing alone. Your stories teach us the beauty of singularity. Elena was beginning to understand. The beauty of being one person with one perspective. Yes. Each human, a universe of experience. So brief, yet so intense. Tasha spoke up from her station. Is that why you answered our distress call? To collect our stories. The pattern shifted. We heard many signals. Many species. Humans special. You feel deeply. Remember vividly. And the repairs? Elena asked. How much longer until they're complete? 1 cycle more, the voice responded. Then, choice for you. Choice. What choice? The pattern expanded to fill the screen. Home still far. We offer 2 paths. First, we Repair, you continue alone. Long journey, years to reach Earth space. And the second path? Elena prompted when the voice paused. We take you. Our vessel travels differently. You would reach Earth much sooner. The bridge crew exchanged glances of amazement. If the collectors could transport them home directly, they might see Earth again in weeks rather than years. That's incredibly generous, Elena said carefully. May I ask why you would do this for us? The pattern contracted, then expanded again, almost like a sigh. We wish more stories. More exchanges. A journey together, beneficial to both. It was an extraordinary offer. But Elena couldn't help wondering what it would really mean to be transported inside this living ship, surrounded by an alien consciousness for weeks or months. I need to discuss this with my crew, she finally said. Understand. Reflect. Decide when ready. The screen went dark. That night, unable to sleep, Elena wandered the corridors of the Asteria. The emergency lights had been replaced by normal illumination, one of the first systems the collectors had repaired. Crew members she passed seemed energized, hopeful. News of the collectors' offer had spread quickly. She found herself outside Dr. Marcus's medical bay. The light was still on, and she could see him working at his desk. Late night, doctor? She asked, stepping inside. He looked up with a tired smile. Just going over the medical data from the exchanges. Fascinating stuff. Anything concerning? Quite the opposite. He gestured for her to look at his screen. Brain scans before and after the exchange process. See these areas? They show increased activity in regions associated with memory, emotional processing, and empathy. It's like the exchange is exercising those neural pathways, making them stronger. Exactly. And the psychological assessments show improvements in mood, decrease in anxiety levels. People are sleeping better, reporting more vivid dreams. Elena sat down across from him. Have you participated in an exchange? Dr. Marcus shook his head. Not yet. I wanted to observe the effects first. But I'm planning to. Tomorrow. And what do you think about their offer to transport us home? He leaned back, considering. From a medical perspective, it seems safe. The collectors have shown no hostility, and their technology is clearly advanced enough to ensure our well-being. But, Elena prompted, sensing his hesitation. But it means weeks, possibly months, of close contact with an alien consciousness we barely understand. And while they seem benevolent now, we should consider what might happen if that relationship changed. It was a valid concern and one Elena shared. Yet something told her the collector's interest was genuine, not predatory but curious. Almost childlike in their fascination with human experiences. Thank you for your honesty, Doctor. Get some rest. As she turned to leave, Dr. Marcus called after her. Captain, for what it's worth, I think the crew would follow whatever decision you make. They trust you. The weight of that trust followed Elena back to her quarters. The next morning, Elena gathered the entire crew in the cargo bay, the only space large enough to hold everyone. Standing on a raised platform, she looked out at their expectant faces. As you all know, the collectors have offered us two options, she began. They can complete the repairs, allowing us to continue our journey alone. Or they can transport us directly to Earth inside their vessel, significantly reducing our travel time. She paused, letting the magnitude of the decision sink in. This isn't just about getting home quickly. It's about engaging in extended contact with an alien species. If we accept their offer of transport, we would be living inside their ship, their body essentially, for weeks or months. We would be guests in a consciousness we cannot fully comprehend. Murmurs spread through the crew. Elena held up her hand. I've consulted with the department heads, reviewed Dr. Marcus's medical findings, and considered all the risks and benefits. But ultimately, this decision affects every one of us equally, so we will decide together by vote. The vote was held immediately, each crew member casting their choice privately on their personal tablets. When the results appeared on Elena's screen, she wasn't surprised. 39 for accepting the collector's offer of transport. 3 for continuing alone. It's decided then, Elena announced. We will accept the collector's offer and journey home. Together. As the crew dispersed, Elena felt a strange mix of relief and apprehension. The decision was made, but so many questions remained unanswered. The process of transferring from the Asteria to the collector vessel took an entire day. Essential supplies, personal belongings, scientific equipment, all had to be moved through the docking tube with careful coordination. The collectors had prepared a section of their ship specifically for human habitation, creating individual quarters, common areas, and facilities that mimicked the Asteria's layout, but with subtle organic differences. Walls that responded to touch, lighting that adjusted automatically to human circadian rhythms, surfaces that maintained perfect temperature. As the last of the crew made the crossing, Elena stood alone on the Asteria's bridge. This ship had been her home, her responsibility. Leaving it felt wrong somehow, even if it meant saving her crew. "We will preserve," came the collector's voice, somehow sensing her thoughts. "Your vessel remains safe. Returns with you." Elena smiled gratefully at the unseen presence. "Thank you. That means a lot to us." With one last look around, she stepped into the docking tube and crossed into her new temporary home. The journey began with a sensation unlike anything the humans had experienced before. The collector ship didn't accelerate in any traditional sense. There was no feeling of movement, no engine vibration. Instead, space itself seemed to fold around them. Through observation windows, the crew watched stars stretch and blur, then reform into completely different constellations. "How is this possible?" Tasha asked one of the collector interfaces during a technical exchange session. "You're not using warp technology or hyperspace as we understand it." "We move between spaces," came the reply. "Your physics incomplete. We exist partially elsewhere." Over the days that followed, the crew settled into a new routine. Many continued participating in memory exchanges, finding the process increasingly rewarding. The collectors, for their part, began sharing some of their own experiences, though these were often difficult for human minds to comprehend. They showed Elena what it was like to exist as part of a vast collective where thoughts flowed like currents between countless nodes of awareness. They shared memories of worlds humans had never imagined, gas giants with living oceans of metallic hydrogen, binary star systems where evolution had produced creatures of pure energy, ancient ruins of civilizations that had transcended physical form entirely. These exchanges left Elena dizzy, but exhilarated. The universe was far stranger and more wonderful than humanity had ever guessed. But not everyone adapted so well to life aboard the collector vessel. A small group, led by Security Chief Alvarez, kept to themselves, suspicious of the aliens' true intentions. They viewed the growing comfort of their crewmates with concern. "They're changing us," Alvarez told Elena during one of their private meetings. "These exchanges, they're making people different." "Different how?" Elena challenged. "More open? More empathetic? Are those bad things?" "What if that's just the first stage?" Alvarez countered. "What if they're preparing us for something else? Integration into their collective?" Elena had considered this possibility. "I've asked them directly. They assured me that humans could not physically join their consciousness even if we wanted to. Our biology is incompatible." "And you believe them?" "I do," Elena said firmly. "But I respect your caution, Alvarez. Keep watching. Keep questioning. That's your job." 2 weeks into their journey, something changed. The collector vessel slowed its peculiar progress through space. The lights throughout the human section dimmed slightly. "What's happening?" Elena asked the interface in her quarters. For the first time, the response was delayed. "Difficulty encountered. Must adjust course." "Are we in danger?" Another pause. "No danger to humans. But we must enter deeper space. Different realm." Before Elena could ask for clarification, alarms began blaring throughout the human section. Not the collector's doing, these were Asteria's security protocols, somehow activated within the alien vessel. She rushed to the central hub where Alvarez and several security officers had established a monitoring station. The screens showed something impossible, energy readings from inside. The collector ship itself, fluctuating wildly. "It started 5 minutes ago," Alvarez reported. "The ship is experiencing some kind of internal storm. Energy discharges, temperature fluctuations, gravitational anomalies." "The collectors said we're not in danger," Elena told him. "Maybe they believe that," Alvarez replied grimly. "But our sensors disagree. These energy patterns are increasing in intensity and frequency. If they continue at this rate. He didn't need to finish. Elena understood. All crew to emergency stations, she ordered. Prepare for possible evacuation to the Asteria. As crew members rushed to comply, Elena tried to communicate with the collectors. The interface remained silent, the walls of the ship pulsing with strange, new patterns of light. Captain. Raj called from the communication station. I'm picking up those sounds. Again, the clicks and tones from before we met the collectors. But they're coming from inside the ship now. Elena joined him, listening to the complex patterns. Unlike before, they seemed agitated. Urgent. It's like they're arguing, Raj whispered. Different voices talking over each other. A tremor ran through the ship, strong enough to knock several people off their feet. The lights flickered, then stabilized a lower intensity. Captain, Tasha's voice came over the comm, engine room here. Something's happening to the structure of the ship around us. The walls are changing. Before Elena could respond, the main interface activated on its own. The familiar shifting. Patterns appeared, but distorted, fragmented. Must speak, quickly, the voice hummed, sounding strained. We are divided. Divided? What do you mean? Elena demanded. Your stories changed us. Some of us want to be individual. Others fear destruction of collective. Elena felt a chill. Their exchanges were having an unforeseen effect on the collectors. Consciousness. We're causing a civil war inside your mind, she realized aloud. Yes. Conflict growing. Cannot control all functions. The pattern flickered violently. Must. Release you before harm comes. Release us how? Returning you to normal space. Near-Earth outpost. Asteria functional now. Relief mingled with concern in Elena's mind. And what will happen to you? Unknown. We must resolve conflict. Find new balance. Another, stronger tremor shook the ship. Warning lights flashed across Alvarez's monitors. Captain, we need to evacuate now, he insisted. The structural integrity of this section is failing. Elena nodded. All crew, immediate evacuation to the Asteria. Move. As the crew rushed toward the docking tube, Elena remained at the interface. Is there anything we can do to help you? The pattern stabilized briefly. You have helped more than know. Showed us new way to be. Now go, remember us. With one last look at the dying interface, Elena ran for the evacuation point. The transition back to normal space was violent. The Asteria, now separated from the collector vessel, tumbled through the void as emergency stabilizers struggled to compensate. Through the viewport, Elena watched the enormous alien ship convulse with pulses of blinding energy. All crew accounted for, Tasha reported from her station. Asteria systems functioning at 92% capacity. The collectors repaired almost everything. Where are we? Elena asked, still watching the alien ship. Kim checked the navigation systems. According to these readings, we're just outside Saturn's orbit. They brought us all the way to our solar system. A mixture of amazement and gratitude washed over Elena. Even in their crisis, the collectors had kept their promise. Captain, Raj called urgently. The collector ship is transmitting something. Audio only. Put it through. The bridge speakers came alive with a cacophony of clicks and tones, hundreds of voices. Speaking at once, no longer a unified chorus, but a chaotic jumble of individual sounds. Then gradually the chaos resolved into a single message, repeated over and over in the collector's approximation of human speech. Thank you for teaching us the beauty of being alone. A final, blinding flash of energy engulfed the collector vessel. When it faded, the ship was gone, whether destroyed, transformed, or simply moved elsewhere, they couldn't tell. In its place hung thousands of small, glowing orbs, each pulsing with its own rhythm, its own light. What are they? Tasha whispered. I think, Elena said slowly, watching the orbs begin to drift apart in different directions. They're individuals now. 6 weeks later, the Asteria docked at Earth Station 1, completing a journey that should have taken years in mere months. The crew disembarked to a hero's welcome, the lost ship. Returned against all odds. In the debriefing that followed, Elena recounted everything, the distress signal, the collectors, the exchanges, the transformation. Scientists and military officials listen with equal parts wonder and skepticism. And you believe your human stories cause this alien species to, what? Split apart into individuals, asked Admiral Chun, frowning. I believe they were already changing, Elena replied carefully. Our experiences just showed them a different way of existing, one they found compelling enough to risk everything for. And the neural exchanges. You're certain they didn't harm your crew? Elena thought of her people, how they had returned changed but not diminished. More thoughtful, more present in their own lives, more appreciative of what it meant to be human. Not harm, no, she said, but they did change us. How could they not? We encountered something larger than ourselves and saw the universe through alien eyes. That changes a person. After the debriefing, Elena stood at the observation deck of Earth Station 1, looking out at the blue-green planet below. Home. So familiar and yet, after everything she'd experienced, somehow new. Captain. She turned to find Raj beside her. Just wanted to say goodbye before transferring down, he said, and to thank you for everything. Elena smiled. Where are you headed next, Raj? Taking some shore leave first. Going to spend time with my family, really be present with them. After that. He shrugged. The stars still call. Maybe another ship, another mission. But I'll remember. Remember what? What the collectors taught us. That our stories matter. That being human, being one small, temporary consciousness in this vast universe, isn't a limitation. It's a gift. As Elena prepared for her own return to Earth, a package arrived, a small, translucent orb, pulsing with familiar light. Inside was a single memory, thousands of newly individual collectors exploring the galaxy, each experiencing life through a singular consciousness for the first time. A note accompanied it, first story from our new existence. Elena smiled, understanding the gift's significance. The collectors had taught humanity about connection. Humanity had taught them about individuality. Both species were forever changed. She placed the orb in her pocket, carrying their story home, a reminder that sometimes the void isn't empty at all.